Hello, my name is Brian Hamilton. I'm honored to be here today at the Wearable Technology Show with our friends from the UK and also from the rest of the world. I'm here in two capacities today. First, I'm the founder and president of Hippo Technologies, which is a virtual care company focused on a mission of democratizing healthcare access for all via wearables and traditional mobility. The delivery system for Hippo Technologies is via an open, interoperable GDPR and HIPAA compliant platform, which supports integration and open APIs with the modern day healthcare enterprise. Hippo Technologies' core mission is to bridge the gap between physical and virtual care, enabling healthcare providers and educators to overcome the barriers of time, distance, and training, all through the best mobility and the best wearables and heads-up displays the market has today. Secondly, I'm here as an evangelist of the wearable computer industry as a whole and the ecosystem and all the partners and ISVs and system integrators that have helped to get the space to be advanced to where it can become the new norm for the future of mobility. In 2016, I was a founder of the company RealWear, and we set out with a mission to be able to bring wearable computing to industry. And now today I sit in front of you with being able to bring forward these types of devices in both industry and also in medical. The journey to launching Hippo Technologies took shape pre-COVID in 2019, when I had the opportunity to deploy some of the first hands-free wearable computing use cases in virtual proctoring, consultation, rounding, and teaching in sub-Saharan Africa, specifically Nigeria. My time in Africa showed me what was possible and with hands-free wearable technology on the front lines and in the field, and how our industry can actually make a difference in providing access for people who need on-demand clinical support. There was a value stream for all stakeholders in delivering healthcare via hands-free mobility, which included the doctors, the nurses, the EMTs, the educators, and most importantly, the quality of experience with the patients. My time in Africa was life-changing, as I got to make lifelong friends, such as my co-founder, Dr. Wally Suleiman, who you'll hear from later. And I got to walk the walk and learn how to deploy wearables in complex connectivity environments. And most importantly, got to see a first-person point of view of the impact of virtual care delivered via wearables at the patient level, where demand significantly outweighed supply. From my time in Africa, I knew virtual care delivered via wearables and heads-up displays could actually change healthcare as we know it. But I had no idea how fast this change wave was actually coming with a global pandemic upon us. So the first thing we did is try to figure out how we could help. So we donated and put these devices, heads-up display, monocular devices on the front line of some of the top hospitals in Wuhan that were in the front lines of the pandemic, so that we could limit the waste of personal protective equipment and limit the number of people that had to go on the ICU COVID wards. We then launched at Johns Hopkins Suburban Hospital in cardiology, followed by rollouts in Norway and Europe. And then we went on to work with some of the top teaching hospitals, medical device companies, and nursing schools in the world. In the rest of this presentation, you will hear from some of the key people who are part of this journey, who also share in this vision that wearables and heads-up displays can disrupt healthcare as we know it. And we can show you firsthand some of these use cases and how they're being deployed. Thank you, and honored to be here today. Next up to share his journey in wearables is Dr. Raphael Grossman, who is an internationally recognized surgeon and disruptive innovator. He's a focus and passion for the convergence of healthcare and technology. Dr. Grossman is a true pioneer of wearable tech and healthcare, and he actually performed the first ever documented wearable enabled surgery on June 20th, 2013 on Google Glass. Dr. Grossman has been a featured TEDx speaker, and he believes that wearables, augmented reality, and mixed reality represent the evolution of human-machine interface. Dr. Grossman will share more on the history of wearable computing, and it's an honor to be able to welcome a true pioneer in Dr. Grossman.
Hello, I'm a general surgeon, and obviously my patients are my first priority and my first interest. But I do have a passion for the power of technology and healthcare convergence. I think that the smart use of technology can really help us communicate and connect in a better way. can help us be augmented, enhanced as humans in order to provide better care. And in a way, technology can certainly paradoxically bring healthcare to be what it should be, a more humane, a more empathetic and compassionate activity. I'm always passionate about also the history. If we think about a device like this, right, with the help of a card in a stereoscopic fashion, we could almost immerse ourselves in a not real 3D situation. We have gone very far. A device like this about 100 years ago made us dream farther. 2013, when the Google Cardboard appeared, a device that with the help of a smartphone with either 360-degree video or with computer-generated content can transport yourself to a different world and have your mind be almost tricked, changed, modified and enhanced the power of virtual reality. And it has the power to, in a way, heal. When I used a Google Glass back in 2013 to connect my students via a streaming from my perspective to the point of view of my surgery, and they were located remotely. This had never been done. And that caused a lot of excitement because potentially it started to make us think different about the use of head-mounted displays during surgery or during the healthcare. We have gone, I would say, warp speeds. This is the blade from Vuzix. I love the form factor. It's a device that looks like a cool, shades, but actually is a device augmented with the power of augmented reality. A device like this has the potential to change how we connect and how we communicate. If we go back to virtual reality, XR Health is doing with the Pico device, not just doing virtual reality, but doing telemedicine in virtual reality. They have the platform itself, it connects you via telemedicine with an occupational therapist or a physiatrist or a physical therapist, and that person remotely in virtual reality can evaluate your range of motion or your flexibility and mobility and whatnot, and give you directed, personalized advice. Again, the smart use of technology in order to connect and communicate us better, but also in order for us to do a better healthcare. When I see the power of a device like the Magic Leap, right? You can see through, but you can also immerse yourself in a extended reality, in a reality that it goes beyond the capabilities of the real world. The potential of this extended reality is really only limited by our imagination. We have obviously also the HoloLens 2. The HoloLens 2, like the Magic Leap, creating a digital world that responds to the physical cues, to the physical clues of the real world. It is exciting to see that telemedicine is evolving the way it is evolving. And you have platforms like Hippo, for example, that uses that innovation, that technology in order to enhance how we provide healthcare. The WHO projected by 2030, the deficit of providers, healthcare providers, is going to be close to 20 million people. So the only way to equilibrate that balance is to use technology in a smart way. Remember, healthcare is a human right, and I profoundly think that using technologies like Hippo or platforms that use the technology in a smart fashion to connect and communicate better is the only way, or at least one of the very good ways in order to make that dream of healthcare for all us in a very equitable and democratized sort of fashion could happen. So I'm look forward to connect with you in Twitter or LinkedIn or through my website. And I thank you for allowing me to share some of my insights. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Grossman. Next, I'd like to introduce Mitch Vanderpal, the Senior Manager of Clinical Services at Angiodynamics, based right here in the UK. Mitch has a unique blend of clinical and technical experience, and also is a pioneer of the implementation for training around proctoring and other use cases. I admire Mitch and have learned so much from him about the nuances and the idiosyncrasies that you have to think about in the deployment of wearables and heads-up display in proctoring and other use cases. I'd like to turn it over to Mitch to share more on what impact he sees coming in telemedicine that wearables will make, as well as why he's excited about monocular form factors like the RealWear HMT and other monocular devices for supporting companies like Angiodynamics. Welcome, Mitch.
Hello, my name is Mitch Vanderpal. I've been working in healthcare my entire career. I trained and worked as a radiation therapist in Australia and then in the NHS before moving into industry. Previously, I worked with Elekta to develop the Unity MR-Linac, and now with Angiodynamics, we offer training and procedure support across Europe for the ablation and thrombomanagement technologies. Having grown up watching shows like Star Trek, Stargate, and even the Jetsons, the use of technology to allow for medical services at a distance has always seemed like some futuristic concept, but it seems like I'm living in that future now. COVID has forced the world online, including medicine. Training, support, and proctoring are all essential services for the successful adoption of new medtech devices. The limitations of access to hospitals during this past year has shown there is definite need for other solutions. FaceTime or other handheld remote support has been a clunky approach in our experience. Wearables seem to offer a much simpler solution. Being able to see what the real issue is, rather than a rough description, is powerful. Many things are lost in translation. Sitting on the shoulder of a working physician and engaging with them mid-procedure through the audiovisual capabilities is powerful. The same goes for allowing a proctor to speak directly to a new adoptee and guide their hands during that procedure. It's very, very powerful. This is the future. Many physicians I've spoken to recognize that teaching approaches in general need to change. The level of competencies required and how to achieve them can be difficult. Taking advantage of devices like the RealWear HMT allow multiple learners to watch an expert, or vice versa. Experts can assess learners for competency. More than that, having access to on-the-spot resources like expert procedure videos via inbuilt screens further enhances learnings for doctors and clinicians. This technology negates distance, but ensures the brain's trust is at hand. This also means busy proctors don't have to cancel their own clinics to travel across the world to attend cases in person, ensuring uninterrupted care can continue. From a business point of view, a way to reduce costs but still maintain high quality service to our customers is key. Bringing clinicians together is important, but providing customer service and product support across a region as diverse as EMEA has been a real challenge. Wearables and the linked platforms like the Hippo virtual care means multiple experts can be called almost on demand whenever a case is happening. Pre-COVID, with team members traveling across the region, extra support via phone was possible, but without the often key visual component. And as we know, pictures speak 1,000 words. Wearables solve that, as long as the connection is stable. Ultimately, to me, workflow is everything. Good process breeds productivity. The easier a process, whether by minimal steps or simplified technology, then better results. Good in means good out. From time in development and training, I've developed a healthy appreciation for clear requirements that build appropriate use cases that should result in functional solutions. End user experience and awareness of real world scenarios is key for the development of any technology. Understanding the need is vital. I love technology, but the best versions are those that enhance your abilities without taxing your attention or your focus. Thank you for your time.
It's a pleasure to be with everyone today. Healthcare has so many problems throughout the world, and I think many of the answers for those problems reside with the people here. And that's what I'd like to talk to you today about. A bit about my background. I started in healthcare as a dishwasher and ended up being a CEO of a very large health system. I was a two-time CMO. Began practice in a small town and ended up in a very sophisticated national referral center. All this to say that there are many perspectives on this, and that's what's sometimes confusing. But I think that we know that healthcare really needs radical change, and radical change with established organizations is very difficult. The word destructive change is often used, disruptive change, but I really think the right word is transformation. We simply need to take what we have and optimize that, but introduce a new concept of care. And that's what virtual care is about. And I think that is the answer that can make care literally available throughout the world. And we can improve care much more effectively, less expensively, and more satisfying for everyone. And virtual care and the wearables are at the heart of that. And it's incumbent upon us to recognize there are several points of failure, points of success. And I'd like to talk to those about briefly today. As we know, an unhappy end user has been the graveyard of many technologies that ends up in a box, or what I call malignant compliance. Sure, we'll use it, and it never happens. So we have to understand what their problems are. Too often, technology is a search for a solution to apply the technology to, as opposed to what it needs to be, what were the problems, and how can we bring technology and expertise to make it successful for the end user, and at the same time not creating a problem someplace else. So the problems have to be comprehensive. We can do that. Behavioral change is the objective, right? We want people to act differently. And to do that, we have to get inside their heads and meet their needs. Otherwise, it's a very short conversation. What we have, the advantage of wearables, is we can have real-time information the first time, and we can then therefore have real-time decision support right at the moment of decision when actions are performed, rather than after the fact, when quite often actions are then studied and we hope to intervene at some point. So the point of intervention is the moment of decision, and wearables and virtual care can address that major gap. Other things that we don't consider are feasibility. Really, how doable is this for the client? Having been on the other side of the table or been on both sides at different times, if it's not feasible, it's a very short conversation. Is it affordable? Affordability worldwide is a particular problem that we need to understand, and Dr. Suleiman can address that. We've all worked abroad. During my final 4 years at my large institution, I was in charge of international, and you get a firsthand appreciation for how difficult things are and how we have to do things very differently in order to succeed. Then, of course, access. The motto at our company is access for everyone, everywhere. And I think that's doable when you take assets that then can be unleashed to be brought in new ways to people where they live, their places of preference. So I think that today, what we need to talk about is how we transform our thinking in addition to the technology that exists. Quite often, as you know, in the past, one transformation is a good example is the car. When they first came out, they looked like buggies because it was thought, well, we'll just make this incremental change. What's present in the audience today is the opportunity for true transformation. And to promote that, we've created an organization called the Healthcare Institute for Virtual Education, a crossroads for all of us who are interested in approaching disease and health in a different, more constructive, more affordable, more realistic way to give access to all. And from that, we'll create a movement. And you know how movements go from something that, oh, that'll never work, to, well, maybe, well, that's pretty good thinking, to finally, of course, everybody knows that. And if we can get solutions to real world problems as examples, nothing teaches better than an example, then we can start that movement and leaders can then safely get in front of, and then we've got a solution. So I welcome the opportunity to work with you, and I can learn from you. Perhaps I can share some things that'll help some of you in the audience so that we can get this movement going and meet the needs of the world that are currently unmet. And it's unraveling many parts of the world, and will continue to do so at a faster rate as we do what we're capable of and what is needed. I look forward to that.
Hi, everybody. I'm Professor Wali Sulaiman. I'm one of the co-founders of Hippo Technologies, and I'm the Chief Medical Officer. I am also the Chief Executive Officer and the Chairman of R&D Global, which is dedicated to healthcare development, hospital management, operations, and development in sub-Saharan Africa. I used to be in the United States for many years and ran the Ocean Neuroscience Institute, which is now top 25 in the world. But I'm so excited to be back in Africa, trying to really push healthcare development in sub-Saharan Africa. So the opportunities that we have before us is enormous in terms of how to deploy innovation to drive transformation in healthcare delivery around the world. The challenges to healthcare in sub-Saharan Africa are enormous. I think they range from infrastructure, equipment, access roads to get to the healthcare facilities, electricity, water. But I think one of the most significant ones that you would agree with me is having adequate healthcare personnel, which is manpower. You can have very beautiful hospitals, but those hospitals, those structures are on themselves. Healthcare workers make hospitals work, especially skilled and knowledgeable healthcare workers. So when you now take that as I've just said it, and if you agree with me, you will know that if we can solve the problem of access to good doctors, to good nurses, good support staff, I think you would have transformed the outcomes of healthcare, of health management, of patient care around the world. And that's why wearable devices come into play, such as Hippo technology. I think what we have been able to demonstrate with the Hippo device is that we can actually take care of the patient in the clinic to get a quick second opinion from an expert from anywhere around the world if we have good connectivity. We have done rounding in the hospital to actually give some opinion, or maybe a post-op patient that a surgeon needs to see that is in another facility. We've been able to do that successfully. We've rounded an intensive care unit, getting opinion from an intensivist. We simulate a situation where a patient in an ambulance, and it is in the ambulance, the nurse is wearing the Hippo device and actually talking to a neurosurgeon in a remote area to actually see the patient, give some advice, and at the same time also talking to an emergency physician to see what needs to be done quickly for the patient. So you can see the patient, you can instruct the nurse to actually do an exam to see how the patient is doing, you can see the screen to see the vitals, and you can intervene to actually urgently potentially improve the health of the patient. So those are examples of transformational changes that can be done and that is being done. And I think it speaks to how we can use innovation and technology to democratize access to good quality healthcare. So what does the future look like? What are the things that we need to continue to focus on to really make this something that is realistic? I think we need to think about, I think in Africa, there's an issue in the sense that people think that any problem we have can be solved just throwing money at it. I think it goes beyond that. I think it's introducing efficiency, improving processes, and making sure we leapfrog and use technology to leapfrog. So I think one of those opportunities is the Hippo technology and wearable telemedicine devices. So I think the future is extremely bright. I think we need to find a way to make these technologies affordable. We need to find a way to make them more cost effective. We need to partner with other industries such as internet technology to make sure the penetration of internet is really good. We need to deploy software that will allow us to be able to capture the clinical encounter and be able to generate a clinical note that would document the care of the patient to maintain care continuum. We need to partner with philanthropic organizations that will make these business venture viable, so that we can give access to many more people around the world to good quality of care. And I think the most important one is probably primary care. So if you look at one of the biggest healthcare challenges that we have in sub-Saharan Africa is the significant morbidity and mortality from non-communicable diseases such as hypertension, diabetes. So hemorrhagic stroke is increasing significantly in Nigeria. They have more amputation from diabetes than from any other type of injury. So imagine if you could manage, you could introduce population health management, managing this group of patients in the most cost-effective way and making sure they take the medications, they adhere to their diet and also exercise. So you prevent them from having strokes, you prevent them from having their legs amputated. So I think there's so many applications, so many things that we can do using this technology to advance healthcare around the world and democratize access to good quality healthcare. So I'm excited. We're here at the battlefront and we're doing what we need to do to make sure that healthcare is not a privilege to just to some people, but that anybody that needs access to good quality healthcare would have it. And I think technology, especially Hippo technology, is really positioned to deliver on that.
In conclusion, the wearable industry is at the forefront of healthcare, redesign, and transformation, and we're all part of this evolution. So how can you learn more and get involved? First, please feel free to reach out anytime so we can discuss your use cases and your areas of interest. Feel free to send an email to info@myhippo.life, myhippo.life. We can discuss your use cases, we can ideate on your requirements, and we can talk and welcome the discussions of the KPIs that are relevant to the ROI of wearables in healthcare. Second, we have an online community that we formed called The Hive. If you go to www.hippohive, www.hippohive.org, we have a community forming of people that are at the epicenter of changing virtual care in the future. Educators, physicians, nurses, technologists, everybody coming together to talk about what the future of virtual care will be. Third, engage with the different wearable companies. There's wonderful wearable companies in the market. Lean forward, try their products, get to know their solutions, figure out what are the different and unique use case selling points for each different type of wearable and each different form of mobility. So lean forward, engage, and enjoy. I'm really excited about what the future will hold in a post-COVID world for virtual care. I know it's been a very difficult year. One positive out of this is that we've got to experience new, different ways to think about virtual care and digital transformation in healthcare with mobility and wearables. Thank you very much. Appreciate you being here. Bye-bye.